You're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
Give me a full ballerina skirt and a hint of saloon, and I'm on board.
I have a hole in my stomach!
I can't go back.
Welcome to the She Became Visible podcast. I'm your host, Renee Steelman. This podcast is my story. It's your story. It's our story. It's all the stories of all the women who one day knew that it was time to remember who they were, who they are, and stand up and be seen. Good morning or good evening, whichever time you're watching this. Welcome to She Became Visible. I'm Renee Steelman, your host, and my co-host Lila will be joining us soon. But I want to introduce my guest because we have only about an hour to talk, and I want to get as much information in from Julia this morning as I possibly can. I don't want to waste any time. So I'm going to bring Julia on stage now so that she can introduce herself, tell her story, and we can just get right into this podcast today. It's really probably one of my favorite podcasts because She Became Visible. My demographic is women over the age of 60 who are really starting to find themselves again, who have maybe perhaps felt like they were lost, felt like they have served their family, their friends, their community. And somehow by doing this service, which they gave willingly and lovingly, they lost themselves and they really want to find their identity again. And that is really the purpose of She Became Visible. And I can't think of a better example of finding yourself again after really some amazing accomplishments, but finding herself in her 60s. She is the perfect example, and I want her to tell her story. So let's bring Julia on. Good morning.
Hi, Renee. Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. That intro to your podcast was so fun. And what you just said is so powerful. It's so powerful. Wow.
Well, it's amazing how many women have been indoctrinated to believe that by nature, their duty is to serve. And it is, I believe, a natural instinct for women to love and serve their families, their friends, their community. I remember hearing a study once about women and catastrophes and how men are often afraid or reluctant to go to the hospital to visit loved ones that are dying, and women are the first to go there. It's just somehow instinctive for them to do that. And so I find a lot of women fall into this position lovingly and willingly. I don't know. I know you have children, I have children, and the idea of taking care of your children, loving them, nurturing them, being there for them is just not even a thought process. It's like, of course, that's what I want to do. I can't wait to go on another field trip to Bonneville Dam for the 50 millionth time, but you do it lovingly and willingly. But then there comes a time I have found, and a lot of it is hormonal, and I know you'll talk about this, where women go through menopause and our hormones change and our emotions actually change because of these hormonal changes. And we start to go, oh, wait a minute. Hello. Do I have an identity, or am I always someone's mom or someone's wife? And so this is what I want you to talk, because you've had a pretty successful career as well as service in the community. So introduce yourself. I say I'm not going to talk and then I talk. Introduce yourself, tell your story, because it's absolutely fascinating. And especially I love your health journey. So start from the very beginning. You're over kind of in the Southeast, correct?
Yeah, on the coast. I am. Yeah.
So how is spring working out for you? Do you have spring yet?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's really nice. Yeah, the flowers are out and The birds are singing, the sun is shining. I told my husband, I will never live anywhere that doesn't have palm trees again.
Oh, interesting. You have palm trees. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know. I feel the same way. We were riding around yesterday. We live in Arizona, and we were riding around yesterday, and it was a perfect Saturday. I think it was like 86, which we all know is going to be, 110
A hot
in a
summer's
day or two. Yeah,
yeah,
it's coming.
hot
So we
summer.
need to enjoy it. Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
anyway, tell us like where you grew up, what your family dynamics were, and your kind of your journey. I know at age 11 you had kind of a life altering experience. So tell everyone your story.
Yeah, really, I had a life altering experience when I was 9, because I had a sister die of cancer. She was 6, and this was in the 60s. So
Oh.
that really disrupted my family, I would say, functionality. So I grew up in the Midwest in, middle class home. My dad worked, my mom was a stay at home, and there were 4 girls. And then my sister Nancy died of cancer when I was 9 and she was 6. I had a younger sister and an older sister. So then there were 3 of us, and my parents decided to have 2 more kids.
Oh.
And they had 2 boys, my 2 brothers, who I adore. And really, they have discovered that a serious life event in a child's life can cause an autoimmune response and bring on type 1 diabetes. And that's really what happened to me. So my sister died at 9, completely. It was like a bomb went off in our family. There was no palliative care. There was no bereavement group, support groups. My parents didn't get any support except from the pastor of their church. So by 11, I started having symptoms of type 1 diabetes. And by the time I was in my mid to late 20s, I did everything I could to take care of myself as a diabetic. And because of what had happened in my family, my parents were much more focused on the babies, the boys. And I was kind of on my own in my early teens. It's like, I have to take care of myself. They're busy, and I need to take care of my diabetes. So I really became a survivor, and I really became interested in how I could take better care of myself, because it was very hard to control diabetic. As a result, by the time I was in my late 20s, the doctors told me your kidneys are going to fail within 10 years. And, the complications are on the way. I mean, I'm in my mid to late 20s. I'm just like, now live forever. I didn't even think about it. But indeed, that did happen. My kidneys failed in my early 30s. I had beginning diabetic blindness. I had nerve damage. I had neuropathy, and I had heart disease by 30. And so anyway, I had just married my husband. I moved from New York City to Iowa, where he was. And 2 years later, the doctors were like, your kidneys are going to fail, and we need to get you on dialysis. But we want you to know you've got probably, I was 34 at the time, you'll probably live to 40, but we can't guarantee that you'll live past 40. But we're doing kidney transplants on our diabetic patients who need them, and a very experimental pancreas transplant. However, it increases your risk of dying before the operation, on the operating table, after the operation, because you have heart disease. And they basically said it's a huge risk, but the payoff would be it would cure the diabetes. You'd have a working kidney. It could add more years to your life. And I just thought, I don't want to live with diabetes anymore. I will take that risk. And my husband was fully supportive of whatever I decided. And I did. And here I am. It'll be 33 years this summer since my organ transplant. And I've always eaten healthy and exercised. Like many women say that. I eat healthy and I exercise. But I was still, by the time I hit my late 50s, I was 30 pounds overweight. I took care of myself. And so anyway, by the time I turned 62, and I'm 67 now, this was 5 years ago, I realized my 30-year anniversary of my organ transplant was coming up in 2 years. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to just completely change my physique. I'm going to get as healthy as I can. It was not about losing weight. It was about honoring the gift of life I had been given and living my best life until I'm done here. And so I started lifting weights, and I couldn't believe the physique transformation that took place over time. But even bigger than that was the inner transformation of my self-identity, my self-concept. And you had said earlier about how women need to find themselves again. And I've been looking for myself my whole life. I've been looking for myself. What do I need to do? What am I here to do? Who am I? And until I took that viewpoint from what I call the soul self and connected it to my body self, nothing ever was successful or made sense in terms of a health journey or, life aspirations or whatever. And I think as women, you're absolutely right. We are encouraged, and we're naturally nurturers, caregivers. And at this age, so we hit menopause, number one, we might retire, we have empty nest, we might get divorced, because if we got married early, I mean, that's not my case, but some women, they get married earlier, and by the time they hit 60 and all these changes, it's like the relationship is no longer the same. And then aging parents, you start taking care of aging parents. So it's like the perfect storm on women 60 plus, 55 plus of still, I can't focus on me. And by that, when you've done decades of that, you think it's selfish to focus on yourself.
Yeah. And
When
you've been told that in many situations.
yeah. And that's actually the most loving thing you can do for yourself.
Right, right. I'm trying to get rid of my crown here. I'm going to have to move.
Yeah, you got the sunshine.
I have transient lights that I don't have any window coverings on. So even though I've closed my blinds, these upper lights, the sun is coming through, and I look like I have I'm trying to get rid of this halo.
You look angelic.
Exactly. Well, no, that's a stretch. So, I love what you said about your soul and your body, because so often, a lot of my podcasts, because a few years ago I left a fundamental religion, but so a lot of my podcasts are about women who struggled with the constant purity culture and talks about their bodies and relating their bodies to their souls, and the idea that you can separate your that your body is somehow correlated with your spiritual soul. I mean, obviously it's a vessel that we use to participate in this world, but the idea that you are either only your body or that you are only your soul, and that the two of them do not work together. I love that you said that. And talk a little bit about your because you worked as an educator for quite a long time, so you had positions that gave you credibility, and yet you still struggled for identity. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, identity comes from a very deep place. So after my sister died of cancer, I grew up in a Christian tradition. My parents weren't, they were moderate, Presbyterians,
Yep.
but no one could tell me, where did she go? Why did she only get 6 years? What happens when we die? And I was asking all the time, who am I? And why am I here? I was a spiritual seeker from very, very young. And I had a connection and relationship to God, or what was a divine source to me, but it seemed so small in what was given to me through traditional methods. So I really became a seeker. So my identity is really more about not who I am in this life. It's
Right.
like, who is that ageless, eternal part of me? And that is the part that men and women, we all have it. We can either ignore it, we can numb our sense of it, we can, block it. And I feel that that's where most of our, inner pain and lack of inner peace comes from, is that we've shut it off, and that the mindset is kind of a lens that can be cloudy and block it. So for me, the life is a spiritual journey, and the way I approach how I treat my body is part of that spiritual journey. I call the body a soul chariot. It's like, the body's just the body. It's like a vehicle, like you said, where soul is driving the vehicle through this life, but it's not who we really are. And I also had a experience in my history of medical challenges. I had E. coli sepsis at age 27 and was not supposed to live through the night. I lived in New York City. It's a long story, but what ended up happening was the day I knew that was it. I knew that I couldn't hold on to the physical reality anymore. I was so sick, and they hadn't even diagnosed that I had E. coli sepsis yet. I was in a hospital that wasn't familiar with me. My doctor was out of town, and I had an experience, a classic out of the body experience. And it was so powerful that when I came back to my body, and I've actually written a book and I talk about this experience in the book, I realized that I was never afraid of death. I was afraid of living. And when I did come back, I had enough energy to call my doctor's office again to see if he was back in town. And he said, "You need to sign yourself out of that hospital, get in an ambulance, come to Mount Sinai." He goes, "They're going to tell you not to do it. You have to do it." And by the time I got there to Mount Sinai, I was back in just like, am I going to die? Because I have no energy. And I was in intensive care for a month. And then when I got home, I could not fit back into my life. I was like a stranger in a strange land. I had gone somewhere so completely different than this earthly reality, and I couldn't fit back in. And it took me a year to find my balance. And because of that, I knew I was not my physical body, because I was more alive outside of it than I am inside of it. But all of those experiences become the template on which I have gone forward and faced things that I've had to do, like the organ transplant. It was like, okay, if this is the end of the road for me, it's the end of the road for me, but it wasn't.
No.
And so I want to take every day I'm alive and squeeze as much life out of it as I can. I have down days, I have up days. I'm human. We all have this.
Right.
The thing that really feeds me is helping other women realize what a gift it is to be in a body, what a precious gift it is to be alive. And that, not being conscious of how you have self-care of your soul chariot is going to affect your brain health. It's going to affect your ability to make the right decisions. It's going to affect your ability to serve those that you love. So I feel very strongly that the soul self needs to be connected to the body self. And the whispers that we hear of, I got to lose weight, or, oh, I got to get healthy, that's your soul self saying, come on, we've got some time left. You need to live your life. Let's connect this whole thing, align with the higher purpose, and get to it. Because women in our age group, Renee, we are the most badass creatures on the planet. We are women with experience and wisdom. And I mean, yeah, we're amazing. We're amazing.
I love what you said. Talk a little bit about, look at this. If I need to back up instead of going forward. There we go. Talk a little bit about your, you mentioned that while you were, you're diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic, and you're thinking, all right, and I'm sure your doctors said, this is what you need to eat. You need to watch your carb intake. You need to watch your sugar and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, I can do that. And so you thought you were doing that. And I know often on your Instagram posts and your Facebook posts, you post pictures when you were eating healthy, like you said, but you were 30, is that what you said? 30 pounds overweight?
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that, because you do hear that all the time. People, and I'm sure, and I know I've seen the comments on your Instagram where people are saying, I'm eating healthy. I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. I'm not losing weight. What's happening? What's going on? So what were you eating that you would consider? I was eating healthy, but I was still 30 pounds overweight. And because you were a type 1 diabetic, you are insulin dependent. right?
Right. Well, that phase of my life is very different than the phase of my life prior to me at 62. So when I was younger, I
Right.
did everything I could to take care of myself. I had the first glucometer, I wore the first insulin pump. I took up to 6 shots a day. In fact, I counted the number of insulin shots I've put in my arms. It's over 40,000.
Oh
It
my
just
gosh.
in my arms, not in
Yeah.
my thighs or my rump. You
Oh
know,
my
it's like
gosh.
that many years, multiple insulin shots every day to regulate my blood sugar so that, you know, as it goes up and down, I have to inject the insulin to meet the food. And there's a picture of me, I'm about 26, really, I look really overweight. I'm really bloated looking. That's when I was wearing an insulin pump. And the insulin pump put insulin in my system all the time. And we know an overabundance of insulin will store whatever you eat as fat. So I got off that insulin pump. It was really, really bad for me. It didn't work. But everything I did my body wouldn't respond. So when I had the organ transplant, suddenly my body responded. Suddenly it was like the food I ate and the exercise I did. But what I found was eating healthy and exercising is a very broad
Yeah.
term. It's very broad. You can eat 3,500 calories a day of organic food. Yeah, you're eating healthy, but
Yeah.
how much are you eating? And
Yeah.
then exercising, we know now that cardio is not the way to a muscular, lean physique. It's not.
Right.
You can lose weight doing cardio, but you also lose muscle mass as well as fat. And then you end up being skinny fat with no strength, and you can't sustain it because your body, it's like you've taken away the power in your body, which is muscle. So what I found was that eating more protein, eating breakfast, eating 5 small meals a day, lifting weights, doing minimal cardio, that's what changed my physique. That's what, so it was eating healthy with certain rules or certain approaches that were consistent, and then lifting weights, nothing extreme. And I took my time. It took me 4 months, Renee, to lose 10 pounds in the beginning, where most women are like, if I don't lose 30 pounds in 2 months, this isn't working.
Right.
So the expectation is so high and the
Yeah.
effort is so low. And that's why women like throw up their hands and say, after 3 months, it's not working. I'm working so hard. First of all, you shouldn't be working so hard. You should be consistent. You should be intelligent. You should be patient, do things in moderation, stack your habits. But no, we go into it like, I'm desperate to get out of this body because I can't stand my body. And that's the other thing. You don't love your body, you're not going to have success. Your
Yeah.
body, you're going to default back to, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve it. I hate my body. It's like,
Yeah.
that's desperation. It's not inspiration. And so
Yeah.
there's so many things about the journey that need clarification, and where women really need to own up to what's your negative thinking patterns? How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your body? Like, do you connect to your soul self, or do you just shut that part off and go, I'm not going to listen to how I feel. I'm not going to, you know, face myself and
Right.
take responsibility for this body I'm in. Like a lot of women are, they make themselves out to be victims. It's menopause. It's my thyroid. It's my
Yeah.
job. I don't have time. It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
I
You-
was saying that this morning. I did a little Facebook thing. I don't know if it ever posted. Don't even get me started on the difference between Xfinity and Verizon, but I'm having problems with my phone and it can't decide who I'm with and the whole bit anyway. But so I posted a thing that this whole idea of a 60-day program, a 90-day program, a 12-week program, or the fact, like you said, you and I grew up with Jane Fonda and aerobics, right? So we grew up with the jogging craze. And so we were encouraged to do aerobics. Aerobics was our thing. We would go, I loved I love the aerobics classes. I'd go to the gym because I love the music and I love to dance. So I love step classes but I was always so frustrated because it's like, I'm not, either I would lose weight. And like you said, I remember reading one time, they said something about, cause I was really into jogging, and they were saying, if you were to go to a gathering of professional runners, people who run, they look like they're going to die. They're skinny, they're scrawny, their
Pale,
arms,
pale.
pale, their arms. And they said that as if that's okay. Just be prepared for that's what you're going to see in the running world. And so I remember going, okay, so that's my goal then: skinny, scrawny arms, pale. That's what I'm going. Yes, I can do that, And then, to even, when we first moved to Arizona, and I don't want to say anything bad because I still love these people, but I got turned on to F45. And I love these people. The community is amazing. And I loved the 45 minutes of exercise, but it's a HIIT program. It's a high intensity program. And so I signed up for one of their challenges where you do your body scan. They tell you how much body fat you have. And then for the next, 6 weeks, we're going to monitor that. And then so 6 weeks later, nothing had changed. And I was like, what is going on? What is going on? And it wasn't until I started getting more and more into strength training and bodybuilding, and I actually quit going to F45, that I started seeing changes.
Yeah.
And that's really sad. Years and years and
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
of not doing anything,
Yeah.
And that's what these women, I see these women out there, especially out here where we're at. There's a lot of people that bike. And I see people my age, late 60s, early 70s, on road bikes, the tiny little speed racer, half an inch tire, on the side of the road. They're 30 to 40 pounds overweight. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is not the program you should have signed up for to lose that weight or to get in shape at age 70, or whatever you think you're doing. Go for a freaking walk, but that's not what our demographic was told. We were kind of raised with high intensity, jogging and kill yourself in order to get healthy. And so you've probably found that when you're working with women our age, that when you say to them, stop doing aerobics, go for a walk and start doing strength training, they're like, well, I'm not going to lose weight doing that. How can that be? So, I mean, talk about, because you coach and counsel people. So
Yeah.
how do you, like, it's probably almost like a 12-step program.
Well, yeah,
You're a
I
12-step
think
program,
here's the thing for me is that we have spent decades grinding away at changing our body. That's not what needs to be changed. It's our mindset that needs to be changed. And once you connect that deeper side of yourself, we all have the knower in us. We all have that higher self that knows all, sees all, observes all. And we can ignore that. And if we are working out of desperation and a limited belief system, we're always going to be looking at our body and trying to change our body. It's like you cannot paint a car red and expect it to go faster. So I always talk about how, I made a graphic. It's a pyramid. And at the bottom of the pyramid is the body, the soul chariot. And then above that is the emotions. And above that is the mindset. And at the very top is the soul self. And what we've done is we have gone from the bottom up to lose weight. Like we start from the bottom and go up, and then we hit the emotions. And the emotions are the ones that say, you can't do this. You don't deserve this. You aren't good enough. You're not worthy. So we fall back down and we default back to the old self. And then sometimes we'll get beyond the emotions and we'll start losing weight and we'll hit the mindset, and the mindset will say the same thing. And we end up self-sabotaging and we don't even know why. So then we fall back down and we never get above the emotions and the mindset. However, if you come at it from the soul self and you step into the consciousness of the woman that you truly are, and she's lean, she's strong, she's confident, she's healthy, She's not in your future. She lives in you right now, or otherwise we wouldn't even want this. And so you start from there, and rather than, you know, beating up your body to change it to look the way you want and to be a certain number on the scale, you just step into that consciousness and you make different choices, and you align your choices with that vision of who you are. It's not a goal, it's a vision, and she lives in you now, and you remove the blocks through mindset work. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you keep at it and you're consistent, and meanwhile you're learning about nutrition, you're learning about training, those self-sabotaging things, when they come up, you face them. Like, what does this mean? What does it mean that I want to go in the kitchen and stuff my face with something sweet? Like, what am I numbing? What am I trying to stuff down inside of myself? And we'll often find there's childhood trauma there. And, you know, there's memories that are subconscious that we're not even aware that they're there, because, as you said, as women, we're always taking care of others. We don't have the time to sit down and do the work. And this is where I really feel that women use things as an excuse not to deal with that stuff. I'm too busy. I can't afford it. I have no time. My job takes everything out of me. You have total control over your own life. You can find solutions to all of those problems, cutting back on things, saying no, getting rid of toxic relationships. But most women are people pleasers. They don't want to upset anyone, even if it means not taking care of themselves. So for me, the mindset piece, coming from soul self into your daily existence, is where it's at. It's not trying to fix the body. And I always call that inspiration up here and desperation down here, expansive up here, limited down here, so that you get beyond just thinking, oh, I got to fix my body. What you do is you align with the being you were meant to be. And when women get to this age, Renee, I know you realize this too, because I heard it in your intro. We've got things to do. We have a lot to contribute. We have so much more life to live. But if you're not healthy, it's not going to happen. You're not going to have clear thinking. You're not going to have good brain health. You're not going to have energy. What a waste. It's such a waste.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing. We went to a Maricopa, some state fair, some Arizona state fair yesterday. We went, my husband and I went to, and there was a person there in a wheelchair. Someone was pushing her in a wheelchair. She was obese and she had an inhaler in her hand and being pushed in a wheelchair. And she was not old. She was probably in her 40s. And I don't know what her situation is, but I just remember thinking, if I would have known what I know now when I started running in my 30s, my life would be so much better. I wouldn't have been constantly, as you said, on the scale, you know, doing these weird programs. I would have had such a more peaceful life, knowing that I could go to the gym for 45 minutes or an hour, lift some weights, go for a nice walk with my kids. And that would have been satisfactory. If I would have known that, and would have started taking care of my body differently, then, you know, but it was still, I did recognize that I had young kids and I needed to be able to move, and I needed to be able to move quickly. And so I needed to keep up my physicality in order to be able to do that.
yeah.
So it's such, like you say, it's such a waste of a life to see people that have either accepted modern medicine and taken their and I hate to say this, but I have heard so many people that just listen to their doctors and they'll just take that pill or take that injection or whatever they need to do instead of taking care of themselves. In fact, I even go to a naturopath, and even my naturopath said to me the other day, you know, your cholesterol is a little high. We need to work on that. And I said, no, we don't. We don't need to work on that. My cholesterol is fine, because I've done enough research on my own to understand that this whole cholesterol thing is kind of like the low fat thing, where people jumped on the cholesterol bandwagon saying, oh, this is the cause of heart disease. And now they're finding, no, your body makes cholesterol. Your brain needs cholesterol. It's a natural thing that your body makes. No matter what I would do, I always had higher cholesterol than my husband, who pretty much lives on macaroni and cheese and hot dogs, you know? And so I'm like, this is not, I just ate a bowl of broccoli and you just had 2 hot dogs and your cholesterol is lower than mine. So that was really what made my mind up to, figure out what was good for my body.
Yeah.
But I love that you said that. I mean, what was it that directly said, okay, what I'm doing is not working. I need to pay respect and honor to the people that donated those organs to me. And also tell everybody that through your kidney dialysis, your veins were collapsing. Wasn't there something you were talking about your veins just having to do was it your diabetic injections, or what was it that didn't you have some vein issues that went along with your triple bypass?
Well, right. I had a triple bypass. I had a cardiac bypass, open heart surgery, because my heart was so clogged, and I'm so little that they couldn't do a stent. They had to like take an artery from my chest and one from my leg and bypass the diseased arteries in my heart. And that was 2005. That's going to be 20 years ago next year. Yeah. I mean, so this is why
did you get the triple bypass before the organ transplant?
No, after, because the heart, everything reversed. Like my vision improved, my neuropathy improved, the heart disease got worse. And so
really,
yeah. So at 34, I had the organ transplant, and at 48, 14 years later, I had the triple bypass. And part of that was the medication I'm on, which is an immunosuppressive. It suppresses my immune system. The medications they were using back then contributed to cholesterol deposits in the arteries. Yeah.
so much related to medication that people are on.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was, so I just feel like, okay, ladies, if I can do this, childhood diabetic, double organ transplant, triple cardiac bypass, and I have no thyroid.
No.
Yeah, I had a thyroid. Yeah, 2 years later, I have no thyroid. It's like, if I can do this, I don't want to hear your excuses that, oh, it's my thyroid. I'm in menopause. I don't have any time. I don't even want to hear you don't have money, because here's the thing about that. Let's say, a program costs X amount of dollars, whatever that is. You can just throw the number out there. Yeah. And you're like, no, I don't want to, I don't have the money. I don't want to spend the money, whatever. If a loved one needed an operation and you had to come up with that money to save their life, you would find it. But you don't do that for yourself. It's like, I don't have the money. I don't deserve it. I can't spend it on myself. It seems so selfish. And it's like, wake up and take, and I'm not talking about I'm talking about any program. Right. Put your resources towards your health. Yeah. And there is plenty of stuff online. If, sometimes women send me questions on Instagram, like they'll ask me a question as if I'm Google. It's like, you can Google that. You can Google that, it's like,
I find that I don't know if you're on the Nextdoor app, but I'm signed up for it, but I always just delete it because they're just usually a bunch of people sitting around complaining. But I get such a kick out of the questions that people will ask on Nextdoor. I'm like, do you have a computer? Do you have the internet? Have you Googled this? It's pretty much out there, How can I get to can anybody tell me how I can get to the airport? I'm like, seriously? You just asked that on Nextdoor? Like, have you heard of Uber? Have you heard of Lyft? I don't know. It's just amazing that, the people that it's so much easier just to ask someone else,
And, I always say, look, I'm not the expert in what you're asking. There's other people that, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a medical doctor. And where I really draw the line is if somebody asks me, should they take a certain supplement or should they be on HRT? It's like, I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I don't know your body. I'm not a medical professional. You need to do the research. You need to talk to your doctor, not some person on Instagram who's, I'm just interested in fitness and health and what we can do and mindset and all that. but I would, even supplements, I wouldn't tell anybody to take any kind of supplement because they could have like an undiagnosed kidney issue, or plus their body's different than my body. And there's a lot I don't take. I don't take a lot of supplements.
Well, and you mentioned that, I think it was you that mentioned that when you did, how many competitions have you participated in, the bodybuilding?
Seven.
Seven. Stop it. And what made you do like your first one?
Just to see if I could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just seemed fun. At first I was like, because I had a coach at the time and he said, you should compete. And I said, what do you mean compete? Because he saw how hard I was working at the gym. And he was an IFBB pro and International Federation Bodybuilding pro.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about bodybuilding competitions, but when he said you should compete in the masters category, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
And when he told me and I looked it up, I thought, there's no way I'm putting on a bikini and getting on stage and sticking my butt out. I'm not doing it. And I ended up doing
a shoulder roll.
And it's, contrary to what you would think, those competitions are really about appreciating musculature. I never felt that there was no like sexual awkwardness, or people are there to really appreciate bodybuilding in both women and men. And I found that the people I met backstage were really wonderful people. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't take drugs. It's like a lot of them have a very strong spiritual core, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
So I that's why I did my first one. And you had mentioned about the one I was going to do this year.
Yeah.
And I pulled out. And one of the reasons I did, I'm in a build right now. So when you do the build, your body gets fluffy.
Yeah.
I'm probably 10 pounds over, well, maybe 10 or 15 pounds over stage weight. But if I had put on 10 or 15 pounds 15 years ago, it would look very different on my body. I would look flabby. I would look out of shape. And when you put on weight through building muscle and eating more as a bodybuilder, your physique just still looks tight. You still look strong. You just don't have like the cuts that you normally do. So I was in a cut and it was not going well. My coach it was not going well. I was not having fun. I didn't feel good. It wasn't his fault. What I found out was I have really low iron. In fact, I'm getting an iron infusion tomorrow. So I was going through some health challenges in terms of my blood markers that were really affecting my inability to have a successful cut. And I didn't know all that. I just knew that I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling depleted. It wasn't fun. And I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas maybe a 25-year-old would push through
and
really damage her health.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really glad I pulled out, and I'll probably I might do one competition this year, but it's not on my list of have tos.
No, it's just something that you sign up for because it's like you said, the people and Julia, this is one of the other things I love because I belonged to a fundamental religion that I pulled out of about 4 years ago. And one of the parts of that religion was they had a very strong commandments that you don't drink alcohol, coffee, tea, or smoke. And those were requirements to be a full-fledged member of this religion. And so I noticed in the ex community of this, a lot of people that had left this religion, the first thing they do is start drinking. And alcohol consumption, they're like a bunch of 13-year-olds that their parents have left and they're going to have a big party at their house. There's, you have 55-year-old people that are, hey, got my Corona, and here's my scotch and water and this kind of stuff. And I'm like, why? Why, of all the things that you can do, now that you've left a fundamental religion, why would you start poisoning your body? Yeah. And that's what I loved about the bodybuilding community was it's about your health. It isn't about a religion telling you can't do something. It's about having the best body, the strongest body that you can have. And so these are things like, for example, people in my former religion, they drink Red Bull like water, but they don't drink coffee because that's forbidden. It's like, well, actually, coffee is good for you. And Red Bull is what
Give up coffee. I could never be a member of that group because
but
I
I mean,
love my
that's
coffee.
the irony of stupid fundamental rules sometimes. It's not about your body or your health. But so anyway, also the thing, and I think you mentioned, correct me if I have you mistaken for someone else, but you're not able to take HRT because of your
Oh, this is a
that
new
right?
topic. This is a new
Yeah.
topic. Okay, so every doctor I've ever had, my OBGYN, my GPs were like, especially my OBGYN, she's like, nope, you can't be on HRT. Even though my testosterone was at 0, I had
Yeah.
no estrogen.
Yeah.
I've never been on HRT until a month ago. I had my blood drawn by a company who tested the sex hormones, everything, including my thyroid medication. And I had a consultation with their doctor. She's been practicing, she's in clinical practice, OBGYN, for 25 years. She's brilliant. She's like, Julia, you need to be on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. These are not synthetic steroids. They're not going to enhance your physique, but you don't have the energy and you don't have the hormones in your body that you need. And in fact, the synthetic thyroid meds you've been on for 20 years have not done you any favors. You need to go on the bioidentical thyroid medication. So as of a month ago, I am on bioidentical HRT, which is called BHRT. Now, I understand that most women ask me all the time, are you on HRT? Are you on HRT? Are you on HRT? And my question was always, no, I'm not on HRT, which
Yeah.
means they don't understand BHRT and HRT. The HRT that bodybuilders are on are synthetic. They get them illegally. They can get them at the gym. They overdose. They take really high doses. I'm on very small therapeutic doses of bioidentical natural HRT, not synthetic steroids, which is what these really jacked bodybuilders take. So I take like 10 milligrams of testosterone and estrogen twice a week. Some of those bodybuilders are injecting 1,000 milligrams a week.
Oh my God.
That's what gets them jacked. And a lot
Right.
of men that are interviewed that are on testosterone say, hey, I'm willing to ruin my health if I can look this. If it takes 20 years off my life, that's fine.
Yeah.
I want to look this way every day. So I am now on BHRT, bioidentical. And I don't want any woman that has asked me in the past when I've said, no, I'm not on HRT.
Yeah.
What I was really saying was not on the stuff you see these bodybuilders taking. But
Right.
now I'm on therapeutic doses. In fact, it wouldn't disqualify me from a natural bodybuilding competition because it's brought my levels up to normal.
To normal. So it's not above. Yeah.
And I even asked my coach, he goes, you're not going to see any body enhancement. I said, you know what? My doctor put me on BHRT, and he's like, you're not going to see any physique enhancement. And then when I mentioned it to my transplant team, and I mentioned it to my new OBGYN that I was on BHRT, neither one of them batted an eye. Neither one of them said, oh, no, you can't be on that,
Yeah.
So women are not getting the information they need
Right.
about HRT. And there's
Yeah.
a misnomer about the kind you take, the kind that bodybuilders abuse, and the kind that women in menopause and perimenopause really need. Yeah.
Let me pause for just a second. I want to see what this does. I'm having okay, I'm sending this. My friend Lila that I want to have her join is having a hard time with the link, and I want her to. So I'm going to resend that. Okay, there we go. Okay, because I really wanted her to participate. Okay. Yeah, because my mother-in-law had who died in her 90s, had breast cancer and had what I thought was kind of typical for the era for her age group. They, they find a small lump and they do a radical mastectomy, take out all her lymph nodes. I'm like, did you get a second opinion before you had that done? No,
Wow.
I like my doctor. I trust him, So but back in the 70s and 80s, they had done these tests and then they came out and they said, women, don't take hormone replacement. Estrogen is causing breast cancer. And now they've done all of these studies to find that no, those studies were poorly done. There was a small group of people. They were looking at the wrong thing. I can't remember all the reasons.
Exactly.
It threw a lot of women away from getting the hormone replacement that they needed, that menopause was. And I'm like you. I went in and had my blood work done, and basically they came back and said, you don't have any hormones, And but did it make a difference in your thyroid too? Because since you didn't, now that
Yeah.
So
the synthetic thyroid medication that they had me on was only addressing my TSH, not my T3 and my T4. So the natural thyroid hormone they have me on now addresses all three, and it takes about, I don't know, 3 to 4 months to really feel the difference. So I'll be paying close attention to how I feel.
That's amazing. So, Julia, I want to introduce you to Lila.
Hi, Lila.
Yeah.
I just saw Lila on stage, and Lila is also in her 60s. And Lila, tell Julia a little bit about your heart issue, because Julia, unfortunately, you missed her introduction, but she had a triple bypass heart surgery. She's had her pancreas replaced and kidneys, correct? Kidney replacement, Julia?
Well, they didn't take out the old ones. They just put in 2 new ones. So I always say, God, if I got abducted by aliens, they'd be like, what kind of human is this?
You have 4 kidneys? Like 2 that are just laying by the beach?
I have 3 kidneys and 2 pancreases.
Why don't we take out the old one?
They don't need to, like with lungs, liver, and heart, they need the space. But so your kidneys are in your back and your pancreas is kind of above your stomach. So what they do is they tuck them inside the pelvic bones. So my pancreas is on the inside of my right, and kidney on the inside of my left. So to get abs is a really huge thing. Oh my God.
What's that little fold right there? Oh, that's my old pancreas. Well, I'm squeezing it. Don't look.
Well,
Look away.
I'm like, okay, first of all, women are at a disadvantage because all of our sex organs are inside. Men's are on the outside, so they have room in their abdomen. So when they eat a big meal, it doesn't show. Women, we're crowded in there. If we eat a large, a big fibrous lunch, it shows. So I'm thinking you've got an extra pancreas and an extra kidney in there too?
Yeah. Plus all the scar tissue from,
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Crazy. And it would only I'm thinking a female surgeon would take those things out because they would get it. A man, they're like, oh, just leave it in. Yeah. Why? We don't care. There's plenty of room in there. We'll just tuck it under that pelvic bone. I'm just blown away.
Yeah. So Lila, tell Julia what you have a heart defect genetically. Tell her about that.
I do. So it's something that I inherited from my mother. And she never got diagnosed, but we know she had it because she had all the symptoms her whole life of a skipping heart, racing heart. And also she had a lot of edema in her legs, in her extremities from it. But I haven't had that. I mean, by the end of the day, I'm a little swollen, but she was always swollen. But anyway, my heart has, and so does my sister and my brother. We have this weird, they call it, tachycardia, but your heart will just start to race or skip around and jump. And it makes you feel like dizzy nauseous, like you're going to pass out. I have those symptoms quite often, especially if I'm under stress. It'll take off or do something weird stuff, and I can feel it. Might get lightheaded, and I feel like I'm going to throw up, and I have to like sit down. And so I have to be careful with anything that taxes my heart. Like if I'm doing anything aerobic, it has to be moderate. If I get up too high, my heart can't handle it. And so my heart did stop one time when in 2003, they called it sudden death. I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. They put in a defibrillator pacemaker. And that was because I had OD'd, and I didn't know this, on pseudoephedrine. It was accidental, but I took too much, so my heart couldn't handle it. So I have to watch that. And, it's just kind of an inconvenience because the battery dies on my device every 4 or 5 years. So I have to have another surgery.
Oh gosh.
I'll put a new one in. And I actually let it die because I didn't have the 30 grand. My insurance wouldn't cover it. I've had crappy insurance since Obamacare. And I don't know. No, I'm not blaming Obama. I'm just saying I haven't had the best insurance. And so when it came time to replace it, I didn't have the money to do it. So I let the battery die because I could hear it beeping. It was like, battery dying. Anyway, I let it die. And
that shouldn't even have to be an issue.
Right?
Really. It shouldn't be. I
know. So I went into my cardiologist last week or 2 weeks ago, and they gave me an echocardiogram. I don't have the results yet, but he's like, you let your battery die? And I said, well, yeah. And he goes, when was the last incident you had? And I said, well, it hasn't been for, since 2003. So what's that? 21 years.
Yeah.
No incidents. So I thought, I'm good. I don't need it. I'm fine. But I really do need it.
Yeah. Right.
But it could happen again. If it's happened once, it could happen again.
So Lila, you were saying that you do go to the gym and you work out, but you don't feel as though you're building the muscle that you want to build.
Right. Yes.
And
I know it was of macros. I'm pretty sure I'm not getting the protein. I was watching one of your recent, I don't know when it was, a video that you did, and you were describing macros and the quantities. And you said, just start with mine. I do 140, and what was the other one? Fats 40. I think it was 140 protein, 140 carb, and 40 fat.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't even know how to measure that. I don't have, what do? Do you have a app on your phone that tells what each food has in it?
Yeah, it's an app. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it.
What's it called?
My Macros Plus.
Plus. I looked that up.
But My Fitness Pal or Lose It, there's all kinds of ones that you can use.
And so I can just type in 8 ounces of chicken, and it'll tell me how many grams.
Well, you've got to kind of know a little bit more about how to structure your food for the day. Most women do best with 4 to 5 small meals and never skipping breakfast and eating at least every 2.5 to 3 hours so that your blood sugar doesn't bottom out and your body doesn't crave carbs to get your blood sugar up.
What about all the intermittent fasting stuff I've been listening to? Because I'm not a breakfast girl. I usually go without breakfast.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Because what happens?
Well, this is usually what happens. A woman gets up. She's like, I'm not going to eat breakfast. I'll eat lunch. And then I'm saving calories. So she doesn't give her body the fuel it needs in the morning when it needs it the most. Then she eats at noon. Then she gets hungry at 4. Then she has dinner. Then she snacks all night because her body's like, you didn't feed me all day when I was busy. And now you're sitting on the couch. I'm really hungry. So it's true.
How did you know this?
It's true. And women that say, I don't eat breakfast. I've never eaten breakfast. That's a mindset thing. Your body needs the fuel. The minute you wake up, it needs the fuel. And the kind of fuel you get has to include carbohydrate, and protein. And you need to eat before and after you work out. So working out in the morning is great. You have breakfast, you work out, then you have another meal after. Your body is happy. And the women that say, well, I eat one meal a day, or I don't eat except between noon and 6, that's a deprivation mindset. That's weaponizing food, I think. That's not having a healthy relationship with food.
A scarcity kind of mindset.
Yeah, it's weaponizing food and saying, I'm not going to give myself food because, whatever. Intermittent fasting, I do that every single day by not eating after 6 and then not eating till the next morning till 7. That's a nice 12, 13, 14-hour intermittent fast where my digestion can rest.
So
I'm
you do.
sleeping. I'm sleeping. So my body doesn't need the fuel.
Yeah, your body's in recovery, and it's renewing, and it's going through the natural process of what intermittent fasting is supposed to do. But like you said, of course, America, we always take things to the extreme. So you're like, why? Let's go 18 hours and we'll skip breakfast, and then
and then when I do that, I get sick. I feel sick to my stomach. I do not do well if I wait. I can do a good 12-hour, 14-hour, at night, overnight thing. And then I'll wait. I mean, anyway, there's so much information out there and it's all contradicting. How are we to know what we're supposed to do?
You need to use your body as a lab, and you need to not take somebody else's word for it, not even mine. Like, I really work with mindset, and I have the women I work with, we explore what their body likes. We explore their lifestyle. We explore like what they need to do to feel supported. Yeah. And what kind of food do they like? And do they even want to do macros? Because macros are a little OCD for a lot of women. They're like, I get really a lot of anxiety when I try and track my macros. So we do a different nutrition strategy, but your body's unique. And so just getting somebody's opinion on what you should do when they don't even know you, they don't know your history, they don't know your medical issues. It's not fair to take that. You've got to be your own research scientist about your body. Because there is a lot of conflicting information out there. Like when they say, well, you're eating too much. No, you're not eating enough. Well, which is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm so confused that right now. I really don't know, because I have my daughter and a couple of my daughters and my son are doing this thing. And it's with yerba mate, and then they have this. Anyway, it's this protocol that they're doing. And one daughter has lost 20 pounds, and she looks fantastic, and she's eating what she wants, but she does the intermittent fasting until noon and sipping on this thing that I've got right here that I'm trying to do it too, and not everything works for me.
Well, you're also a woman over 60. How old's your daughter?
She's 42.
Yeah. And I mean, bodies work differently.
Oh, I know.
Menopause, postmenopause, and anything that.
But Renee does.
Yeah, I think
on the muscle. And I want to know, how are you doing that? Anyway, yes, you're right. I'm listening.
I think the protein is the biggest thing, because I'm not a big, I would much rather have a sandwich than a steak. Like, meat is not a big thing for me, and getting enough protein in is hard, especially when I try to use it through real food versus a protein shake or a protein bar, and that's the other thing I like about the bodybuilding world is they actually encourage you to eat real food. Don't eat fake food. And that's really hard for me, because it's like, really? Because it'd be much easier just to down that shake or to eat that protein bar, because I don't like to cook. I don't want to be in the kitchen. So it's a lot harder for me. But tracking my macros and getting 130, 140 grams of protein in was life-changing, because I'm kind of a carb girl. Like, I could live on carbs, and I think that's what I was doing in the past, was living on carbs, because, and I see that even in my husband, because he doesn't listen to me. But I mean, he lives on fruit and, and he thinks, oh, I'm eating healthy because I've eaten fruit all day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a guy with a lot of natural muscle. You need to be eating more protein. But he's kind of taken in that 70s and 80s stuff where that, meat and cheese was bad. And I keep saying, you love cheese. You could eat cheese, and he's like, what? I'm going to have an apple. And I'm like, well, okay,
Well, and there's also the issue of food having a glycemic index, which means when you eat it, how quickly does it turn into blood sugar? And fruit turns into blood sugar very fast. So do fruit juices. So do white potatoes, white rice, anything wheat. It's like, if it spikes your blood sugar, then it causes your pancreas to shoot out insulin. And if you have more insulin in your system than you need, you're going to store food as fat. So there's so many things that apply to some bodies, and some bodies can handle it. Like for me, I'm finding out dairy, I don't do well. Wheat, I don't do well. Wheat belly is a real thing where women and men just gain weight around their middle from wheat belly, which means what our grandparents ate in terms of wheat flour and wheat products, it was not genetically modified. And they've put so much chemicals in the crops to get a higher yield over the decades. It's completely changed the DNA of wheat, and it causes an autoimmune response in a lot of people's bodies and causes them to hold on to fat because their body can't handle the wheat, the DNA of the wheat. It's like we have to be very careful what we eat, like when we eat, what we eat, why we eat it. Like, are we, like, a lot of times I'll ask myself, if I'm hungry, I'll ask myself, am I really hungry?
Yeah.
And I actually have a blood tester, a blood sugar tester, and I'll test my blood sugar. And if it's around 100, it's like, I'm not really hungry. I don't need to eat. Maybe I need water, or maybe I'm trying to suppress some emotion, so it's really being aware of how your body works, what it needs, what makes you feel better. And, you have this whole heart condition thing to consider. It's,
Yeah.
that's important to keep your focus on that too.
Yeah, I hear you on all of those things. I've thought about a lot of that. I've thought about I stay away from white carbs. I just completely stay away from them because I feel like when I eat them, I don't feel good, and I think I gain weight when I eat them. But I feel like if I eat whole carbs, meaning like if I'm gonna eat wheat, it has to be whole grain. And then I hear people say, well, that's not good for you either, but it has the fiber. So I feel like the fiber helps counteract some of the glycemic. No, it doesn't.
No, it's still wheat. It still has the elements in there that cause autoimmune response in most people because it's not the wheat our grandparents ate. And fiber, you can buy these protein bars that say net carbs 4 grams.
Yeah.
It's only 4 grams because of the fiber. That's BS. There's still 26 grams of carb in there. You don't wipe that out because of the fiber. Your body doesn't know the difference.
No, of course.
It's like, but they market it to think, oh, this is high protein, low carb. If you look at any protein bar, it's got more carb in it than it does protein. It's really not a protein bar. So it's a marketing ploy is what it is.
Right.
I highly recommend Snickers because that is pretty much the same as a protein bar, right? Something chocolate with nuts in it, might as well just eat the crap because it's still the same crap.
Well,
right?
I just read something that I think it was a Snickers bar has a lower glycemic index than a rice cake. And I'm like, that's so stupid. Well, of course it does, because it's full of fat and nuts, and that's going to slow down the changing into blood glucose, which is why diabetics, before insulin was discovered, they were on diets of steak and fat, no carb, because protein and fat don't spike the blood sugar.
Yeah.
And then insulin was discovered, and it changed
So,
everything.
so that's why a lot of people, like you were saying, with autoimmune issues or even diabetes, the keto diet works well for them. Was that ever something that you tried? Was the keto diet with
It
your
made
diabetes?
me sick. It put me in the hospital.
Too much of both meat and fat.
Yeah, it's not, my body just didn't like it. And
Yeah.
it's an extreme.
Yeah.
I know some people, there is research that's been done in the medical community that some people, for instance, epileptics, do
Yes.
really well with keto. That is a very specific, reason for them to do keto. But in terms of fat loss or whatever, ketoacidosis is something diabetics live with, where your body begins to feed on itself because you don't have enough insulin.
Wow.
I don't think that's a healthy way to lose weight. Your body's cannibalizing your muscle and fat, and that's what keto diets do. But it does have benefits for people with certain health conditions, and so it's very hard to say, oh, it's good, it's bad. But for me, it was really bad. It put me in the hospital. It was really hard on my kidney.
What's so ironic is America, here we are jogging. We go to, we're going to all these clubs and exercising and things like that. And then you go to France and you see these tiny little people, or Italy, where the fashion world lives and is inspiring for the whole rest of the world. They're all tiny people, and they're carrying home their baguettes every day with their cheese and their meats and their wine, and they're having their gelato. And, and I remember my husband and I, when we went to Italy, we had gelato every single day. We had bread every single day, pasta every single day. And we both lost weight, and it's the quality of the food.
It is the quality of the food.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's like you say,
We lived in Saudi Arabia for 4 years, and the quality of food there is so much higher than it is here. I mean, free range chickens, for sure. They're running all over the place. It's like they don't pump them full of antibiotics and growth hormone. Ew. And we would come back and buy chicken at the grocery store and cook it, and it just tasted weird and it smelled weird. And yeah, it's Europe also, they know how to do things in moderation. There's that book, French Women Don't Get Fat.
Yeah.
And it's basically because we don't have those desserts every night. We have them once in a while. Everything's in moderation.
Or you go to Baskin Robbins in Europe, and the ice cream is this big on your little cone, and you're like, that's a junior scoop. Did I ask for a junior scoop? No, I want a double scoop.
Croissants are little. Yeah. Little croissant. We have these jumbo croissants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything is small and
like a big gulp. Like you go the big gulp. You remember there was an A&W root beer when I was growing up. My parents used to take us all the time, and it was a little 6-ounce glass mug of root beer. Yes. And now it's like big gulp, 32 ounces of sugary soda.
Yeah.
No wonder we have an obese nation. No wonder.
I know. I didn't see any Stanley cups or people walking around with gallons of water in Europe. Nobody was carrying around their water. It's America is the Food and Drug Administration should just be shut down. It's like, you're not doing any good.
They're
we
not.
got Fruit Loops and Cheerios, and you're advertising it as heart healthy. So stop. Well, Julia, it's been absolutely amazing. And tell everyone about the service that you offer, your coaching, and the link to how people that want to work with you, how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just started a 3-month mindset reset, which is really working on nutrition and training, but it's really working on mindset. And I make it clear that this 3 months is just the beginning. Like, what you're going to see change will be in how you approach food, your relationship with yourself. But we're going to start with the training and the nutrition too. So that just began, and those doors just closed. So that's no longer available. And I also have a 1-year program. But if anybody was really interested in finding out more, you can go to my website, which is bodybeautylovelife.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram, which is Dolphin, INE, Dolphinine. So
now, that is that a Greek reference?
no, it's a reference to I love dolphins. They're my spirit animal. I'm a Pisces. I love the ocean. And I had a dream about 20 years ago, a lucid dream. Like it was so real that I was in the body of a dolphin. And it was so freeing. I got the sense of joy and play and freedom. Plus, I love the fact that they're community oriented. They have a sense of justice. They care for each other's young. They're amazing mammals. They're not fish, they're mammals, you know. And I was going to do dolphinesque, but that was taken. So I thought dolphinine, like leonine, someone's lion like, dolphin like. So that's where that came from.
Cute.
I feel like I saw it recently in something I was reading, and I thought, oh, that must have been where Julia got her name. And I can't remember why I was thinking it was some kind of a goddess or.
Oh, well, maybe Dionysius was the god of wine.
Yeah.
And his people, I think, got drunk and fell overboard and turned into dolphins. Maybe that's what.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. There you go. There was a dolphin connection there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I love how women, I don't know if men do this, but they probably do. But I love how women, we connect, like you say, with the other animals of the earth. And I know when my husband and I started our foundation, I connected with the elephants because it's a matriarchal society.
Elephants. Yeah.
And they take care of they take care of their children, their babies as a group. And and then once the male babies are a certain age, they're kick them out. Get out of here. We don't need you anymore. And I'm like, I love that system. I think we should adapt that system into our life. It's like they only bring the men back when they're needed, and then they're like, "Yeah, that was good, thank you." We're good. I could live in that society somehow. I don't know, But anyway, but yeah.
Well, Renee, I really appreciate you having me on, and Lila, was so nice to meet you. It was great.
I'm sorry I was late, but I didn't get the link, and Renee, we'll have to talk about that later.
I know it was a crazy morning, but I love that it all came together because that's what women do. We make it work.
We make it work. Yeah.
And I love meeting you. I love social media. People that have, oh, I turned off my phone. I left my social media. I'm like, well, that's sad that you can't monitor it because it's a beautiful thing. I have so many fabulous community members now because of social media, and you're one of them. And I hope someday to meet with you in a gathering of women over 60.
Oh, that'd be so great. That'd be so great. Yeah.
Yeah. So great. And I'll drag Lila there kicking and screaming, but I'll make you go to Tulum someday. That's my dream. Julia, it is absolutely killing me. I just got back from a trip to the Yucatan, and I was with a specific group of people that had a specific, itinerary, which
Did you
wasn't
go to Chichen Itza?
Well, there's a story behind that. The day we were to go to Chichen Itza was the night before I got food poisoning.
Oh, no.
And yeah, so that's my love of Mexico. It's kind of like I thought I'm never coming back. But I would see the signs that say Tulum as we're going down the bus. And I'm like, can we take that exit, please? Please, I just want to go to Tulum. And I'm like, I've come all this way and I can't go to Tulum. That's my dream someday. But anyway, now that I've got food poisoning, I don't know if that's my dream any longer, but we'll see. Anyway, so right. I know you have a busy day, Julia. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
Oh, it was my pleasure. So great to talk to you. And I'm sure we'll be in touch.
And I'll put all the links that you have in the notes, and so that everyone can get a hold of you because you're fabulous.
Sounds great.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I'm so glad you were able to jump on, Lila. I'm glad you joined us today because I think it's so fascinating. I feel like my father-in-law had a pacemaker and then had it taken out. Does your doctor talk about having it taken back?
I asked if I could get it taken out, and he said, "Yeah, if you want to pay for it, because it won't be covered." And so it's all this insurance garbage, makes me crazy. I wish things didn't cost so much money because I would love to have it taken out. It's right here. It sits in my chest and it's under my armpit kind of, and it bothers me. And I think I need it, honestly. I don't they say once your heart stops once, it can do it again. Your chances go up. So I don't really want that to happen. it was a scary thing. It was,
Yeah.
a near
Yeah.
death experience, and so that's a whole other story.
It's too bad that we can't do the reverse. We have people in our neighborhood that live in Canada. They're Canadian residents, and they will come to America for procedures that they can't get in Canada. But yet it's like, well, maybe we should be able to go to Canada and get procedures that we can't get here because we can't afford it. And, because our system is insane. We have the highest, people pay the highest amount for healthcare, and we have the worst healthcare.
No, it sucks. It really does. Anyway, that's a problem, and that's something that I'm looking at right now, and I don't know really how I'm going to do it, but I kind of need to get my battery charged up. So I'm going to do that.
You can't just plug you in. You can't do one of those adapters from your watch.
I wish they could just put something over it, hook it into a charger.
Yeah. Exactly. Right? Plug in. Well, it's funny though, because that's the thing about modern technology. Like TJ had a pump that the battery had to be changed every 4 to 5 years. And that's what eventually led to his death, because he got MRSA after the last surgery. There he had his pump replaced, and then he got MRSA, and then it never healed. And then the MRSA got septic, and so, I mean, even the surgery itself is dangerous.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have something in your body that has to be replaced every 4 to 5 years, that means surgery every 4 to 5 years.
Right.
Insane.
I'm like, do I really want this thing? I mean, I know it's helping me on some level, but I don't know. I don't know what's worse.
I know.
I also don't want to walk around thinking I'm a ticking time bomb and I could die at any moment either.
Yeah. Or even, like you said, doing something as simple as yard work, and all of a sudden your blood, heartbeat is up to 140, and you're like, am I doing aerobics? Thought I was planting daisies.
Yeah. It's really weird. What happens is the blood doesn't pump out as quickly as efficiently as it's supposed to. So it regurgitates within the chamber. It spins around and it doesn't all get ejected out. My ejection fraction, there's an actual term, is low. So in order to fix that, they have to regulate my heartbeat so it never goes too high. If it goes too high, I get that regurgitation, and then what happens is it can clot. And if it clots in the chamber, you're done.
Oh yeah.
So that's why they do this. They have this pacemaker, so it won't go too high. Even if I'm working out really hard, it'll pace my heart down so that doesn't happen. And I'm not supposed to do really extreme exercise. I'm supposed to do moderate for the rest of my life. So we'll say, let's go on a hike, and I'll be like, okay, but I probably will have to really monitor my heart rate the whole time. I'll have to stop, rest, and then go. And it's kind of frustrating. I do better with just moderate walking. I can go up hills and down hills, but I can't do like steep, sustained climbing. It's not good for me.
Interesting. I wonder how you sound like you would be a really good candidate for just strength training, because it's not necessarily aerobic. I don't know how.
It does elevate your heart rate.
It does elevate your heart rate. Yeah.
And when I'm doing, like, let's say lunges, squats, my heart rate goes up. It does. And sometimes I start to feel a little nauseous and a little dizzy, and I'll stop. And it's like, oh, geez, I can't even do this the way normal people do.
Yeah, that's so scary.
Oh, yeah.
Well, very interesting. Well, your hair looks fabulous today, and that's really what's most important. So
I got up and showered because I thought, I got to be ready for this. I haven't, it's ready. I got to be ready. And
it was so crazy. I can't remember if I sent Mountain Time to Julia.
10 o'clock. So
so then the last email I sent, I said Arizona time, but I think she just remembered the Mountain Time. So she called me at 9 a.m. my time and said, are we on? And I said, no, it doesn't start till 10. She said, well, I can't, I got things to do today. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll jump on. So I jumped on. Yeah, it was crazy. This whole Arizona time zone thing is just so stupid. I wish either the whole nation needs to stop doing daylight savings time, or Arizona join the crowd.
Yeah.
fixing anything. It's making it worse. But anyway, well, thank you. I appreciate you jumping on. It was great. I loved having you here.
Me. She's adorable.
Isn't she fabulous? I mean, I can't imagine, and I love what she said about, I've had a triple bypass surgery. I've had a double organ transplant. What's your excuse again? You know? Well, I'm really busy. I have a big job coming up. She's like, really? Okay. It's like
violins playing. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, all right, fine. I'll go exercise, anyway. So,
well, you're my goal. I want to be like you, Renee.
Oh, well, I don't have a pacemaker, so that's not fair, but
anyway. Well, I know, but I can at least try. I need to watch my protein. I'm going to take a lesson.
Yeah, I think that's the secret of the whole thing is the protein. And that was, like I said, that was really hard for me because I'm not a big meat eater. I'd much rather have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, but peanut butter has protein.
Yeah, it does. I'm trying to decide if I've developed a peanut allergy after years of eating peanut M&Ms. I have ask our kids. We had a huge bowl. I'm not kidding you. It was like this big in the front of our house filled with peanut M&Ms.
Really?
And,
the time.
All the time, just sitting there. And you walk by, you grab a handful, I think I've developed a peanut allergy. Anyway. Well, all right. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next week.
All righty. Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, was that not the best? And I'm going to put all of the links to Julia on this so that you can find her. She's amazing. And I love her positivity. I love the fact that she takes no excuses, and she will help you find what's best for you. And isn't that what She Became Visible is all about? What works for you? I mean, if you can't find what makes you happy and then allow yourself to pursue that, then I would suggest therapy, because somehow you've been indoctrinated to believe that you're not worth it. And I'm telling you right now, you're 100% worth it. You're more than worth it. So find yourself this week, become visible, do yourself, and we will see you next week on She Became Visible. Bye-bye.